hip flexor lifts. Now, our hip flexors are a very misunderstood muscle, and especially when it comes to tightness around our back and our hips, and sitting at a chair for a long time, sitting in the plane for a long time. Hey, we tend to get very tight in our hip flexors, and whilst our initial instinct is we want to stretch them, open them up, which is very correct, we also want to strengthen them, because there's a difference between being sitting at a desk and slumping over into hip flexion and actually pulling yourself into hip flexion. And these exercises that we're doing here now, we're going to try and train those muscles to pull ourselves into hip flexion, because we need strong hip flexors. They're the basis of our running, of our walking, and also stability of your pelvis. Right? If you have strong hip flexors, okay, it allows us to have much greater capacity to move, to squat, to lunge, to run, to climb, to lift, okay, all things that we want to be able to do. So sit on the floor for this one. Yeah, and what we're going to do, we're going to train one leg at a time, right? And you put your hands anywhere on the floor for a bit of traction and a bit of stability. If you want to challenge yourself more with this, you'll just bring your body further over. If you need a little bit more assistance, you can keep your torso back up. So your torso angle dictates how hard this is to do. What we'll do, I'll start with my right leg here. As you can see, I want you to push the knee down and pull the toes back there. So that muscle is kind of tensed. Sit up from here, and all we're going to do is just try and slowly lift the leg up as high as we can, and then slowly bring it back down. So again, lock your hands, and I want the hands on the floor here to stop you from rocking, because as you'll see, a tendency is going to be wanting to move our torso to allow us to lift our leg a little bit easier. So push your foot down, pull your toes back. That strengthens and turns on the muscles in your leg, and these muscles now can't lift you. The only part that can lift you is your hip flexors. So lift up here. It's really, really hard to try and train that muscle to move slowly up and down. As I said, lean further forward, okay? This becomes more challenging. If I lean back here, away, we have a little bit more leverage with which to move. So we perform our reps on one leg, then we perform our reps on the other leg. So now, push that knee down, that straightens the leg, and you can see how, we'll do it with this leg, see how the heel comes off the floor here, right? That means that those muscles are all contracted. If they're contracted, they then can't lift, so only the hip flexor muscles can lift. This is what we're trying to train, so come up slowly and come back down. So brace your body again, pull yourself up here, and then come back down. So squeeze again, lift up, and you'll find this is a lot more challenging than it looks, and you may find some cramping down through the front of your leg. That's all perfectly normal, it's all good, especially if these muscles are not used to it. Like cramping is just a sign that your body doesn't know how to interpret what it's doing, so it kind of cramps up to get you to stop. But you can sort of lean into it a little bit, play with the cramp, okay? Back off a little bit if you need to, rub it out, hold it for a second, then get back into it. Cramping is perfectly normal. Now, if you are training one leg at a time and you find that your torso is rocking quite a lot to give you some, try and give you some more leverage, what you can also do is, always do is bring one leg in and hold on to this here. So now if my hands are hugging this leg, now my torso can't move. So now we've got some real isolation work happening just at the hip. So slowly lift it up and slowly come back down. Hey, and now those hip flexors are being trained just in isolation, and it is very, very difficult. So squeeze, lift up from here, and then allow it to come down nice and slowly. Now, if sitting on the floor is too hard for you, or you want a little bit of variety with how you do this, you can also do this with a bent leg, right, from a height. Now, in this case, we're going to use something to sort of stabilize ourselves. So you can hold on to, I'm holding onto a pole here, but of course you can use a wall or a chair or anything else that you have available to you. But what we're trying to get is this leg now to brace really hard and just lift from that position. So if I was to get you to lift from the ground all the way up to here, right, it's really easy to lift all the way here. It's only when it gets to the last part that it becomes difficult. So we're taking all that easy part out of it, and we're starting at the end range where it's quite hard. So brace this here, tense the muscle, and just lift that leg up, hold it about 3 to 5 seconds, and then slowly come back down. Brace again, lift up, hold it here, 3 to 5 seconds, and then come back down. Right, lift. Here, what we're doing is we are training those hip flexors in isolation to just pull from a dead stop in the last difficult part of the movement. Now, if that's easy, and you want more of a challenge, you can just make the height higher. So now pulling ourselves further into hip flexion from the start, right? And the further we're into hip flexion from the start, now lifting becomes much more difficult. So the higher we go from here, and we're just pulling that end range, but from a dead stop here. So lifting, holding. So we can do the sitting on the floor variation with a straight leg, or if you want to do a standing variation with a bent leg, you can do that as well. Hip flexor lifts, they're phenomenal for building strength into our hip flexors. And as I said before, we want strength in our hip flexors to be able to run, squat, jump, lunge, move, everything else. We need capable and strong hip flexors, and they balance out your pelvis very, very well. And there's a difference between sitting down all day and being tight in your hips and deliberately pulling yourself into hip flexion. There, so give them a go. The most important part that you need to do is move slowly through it, okay? Don't use momentum, don't bounce, don't rock, right? Don't rock and lift up from here. So brace and move very, very slowly. Hold for 3 to 5 seconds and then slowly come back down. So even the lift off and even the put down is to be slow.